might be on. Hello. Hi. There's a good view of my grey hair. Is it up? It should be up now. Hello, welcome. And hopefully I've numbered the stream right. It should be stream number 39, unless I've forgotten something, which is highly likely. So I have forgotten something. Sorry. I don't know how long I'm going to be on for tonight because it's later than normal. And although there was a better response to actually doing an early morning, for me, stream last week, where there was a lot more involvement, I guess, because it's the time of night that people overseas are got nothing to do, or they're, early morning for me, it's late night for them. And we had people on from Germany and South Africa or something last week. It was good. Yeah, I have got a 3D print happening in there, so I will try and shut the noise out a little bit if I can, and then I'll turn the camera and you can see exactly what's been worked on for the last week. So here we go. At the lovely bench. Look at that bench. It's very benchy. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, maybe I do. No, I want to go like that. Here we go. All right. So, what's been happening? Routers the last week. So this is my Makita trim router. It's the cheap one. It's the M3700, which is basically the cheaply Chinese-made version of the nice Japanese-made tool. It's got a cable that gets in the way, as opposed to the other one that has a cable that comes out of that side, so you can mount it in a table more easily. It has not got rack and pinion height adjust. It's just this thumb screw that squeezes this plastic body around the motor housing. It's pretty basic, but it does also, compared to the Azedo router that I had, it has got a very simple method for changing router bits. 2 spanners. So one there, pull them together, and it unlocks, which made me start to wonder whether this would be a good candidate to go in a router table. So I started experimenting with my CAD skills, if you can call them that, in Fusion 360 last week, and I started by seeing if I could model another base plate for it. So here's the original one, because often what people do when they go to mount these in a table is they will take this off and they'll mount it to a piece of acrylic or something and drop it in. What I wanted to be able to do is say, well, okay, we can take that off, but I could also then make my own mounts to be able to put on there, so I can have it, sitting nicely in a table. So, but essentially, if I just make this slightly larger, I could have this table mounted. Then I got to thinking, well, okay, that's probably not the best solution, because it's probably better to just actually screw through into this mount through whatever the table surface is, because I'm not planning on making a large router table. I'm planning on keeping it quite small. And in fact, there are quite a few videos online of people with hobbyist table saws, particularly the DeWalt branded saws. I think from memory they are the 7491. That's the DW7491, the 7485, and my saw, the 745. And all of those saws have got a rack and pinion style fence. So you twist a knob, and the rails actually are geared, and it slides out and in. And when it slides out, the aluminium extrusion that the rails are actually are made of become more and more exposed. So you can wind it out, and you suddenly get this extrusion of aluminium protruding past the base of past the table of the saw. And a lot of people use that to make a rudimentary temporary router table. So you basically get a board, you mount your router to it. Maybe I should draw it. Should I draw it? I've got some paper here. I don't want to give away all my trade secrets, but I'll explain what happens. So I'll, if I can. If I can't, well, it's okay. Can you see that? The one person that's watching, can you see? There you go. Oh, I'm turning that the wrong way. A pencil, never mind, this will do. So this is a bird's eye view. So here is the table saw top. It's got its blade insert plate here where the blade sticks out. Danger, 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 you know, don't put your fingers there. And then it's got a fence, which sort of, I suppose, would come across here. It's a sort of boxy contraption like this, okay, and it's attached to these rails, front and fore and aft of the saw. And there's a little sort of knob on the front that you twist to move the saw inward or outward, and there's a locking lever on the edge here. And so what happens is when you twist the knob to the right, these rails actually move because they're toothed. And so you end up with, you know, if you wanted to have this as far outward as it would go, or even as far inward, you can turn it all the way over this way, and the saw blade and the things will stick out over here. I've decided to put mine on this side. I'll explain why later. So you have these rails. Now, if I looked at the rails themselves, if I sort of, this is a side-on profile of the rail. It's basically like a C profile. There's probably some stiffening sections going on here, and there are some teeth. So side-on, it's basically got teeth in it like that. So there's teeth underneath it. And then here it's just basically quite a thick-walled piece of aluminium. Now what people do is they cut a piece of wood to go in here with a bolt recessed through, and the bolt, usually a toilet bolt in America. If it's a toilet bolt, you use a furniture bolt in Australia, basically, like a hex key 6mm furniture bolt. And you then put your, you know, this is your block of wood that sits in here with the recessed bolt, put that through, and then you have another block on here, which you then put a nut on, okay, like that, and you attach your board, whatever material you're going to use for your table, for your router table, to the top of that, you know, screwed, nail, glue, brads, whatever you want. And basically then you get this router table that you can slot into the side of your table saw. I don't have this level of woodworking skill, and I'm going to venture to say that not everybody does. So what I've been working on is a system where I could 3D print the parts, and it's been fun to design stuff in CAD. It's very basic stuff. It's nothing on what other people have done and can do, you know. So I've been playing around with, you know, even things like star knobs, so I can have a knob that goes through to tighten that up, and to see if, you know, obviously if I break pieces of my router, well, yeah, already I can make these, and these are $44 each if I broke one. So if I lose this, this little piece of acrylic with a little scoop out bit is $44. And I have even managed to make a sort of scoop out section there. So prototype 1 was basically this. So this sat that way. So it sat, if I go to my picture, it was basically 2 holes into the piece of wood. Where's a scrap of wood when you need it? Here's, never mind, here's one. Here's a scrap of wood. So this went into the wood like this. And then I made a block. Here's a block. And so this kind of went into the wood. The block goes into the extrusion on the saw. You bolt them together with a star knob, basically, and that's how it goes. Decided that, you know, the issue I was having is that this hole is lower, you know, it only works one way around, which is okay. But then I also decided I wanted to recess a nut onto that instead of, this has actually got a thread cut, but it didn't really work out that well. So a few iterations have gone by. I also decided that this hole didn't allow for this size star knob to be able to be tightened very easily. So I decided that first of all I would make a smaller star knob, which I did do. I can't think of where it's gone, but I did successfully build one. It is very small. You know, the miniaturization that it took was pretty incredible, but there you go. I'm happy that I managed to do it successfully. So I decided I'd go for a slot. So from first generation to second generation, I decided the slot would be better. But even with the slot, this size star knob would only work, you know, for the very bottom of the slot, barely. So I had to try and find another way. What I'm probably going to end up doing is just having a bolt, because it's, you know, a bolt and a washer. From that stage, I decided that these mounts were just too small, and I had thought originally about doing 2 of them, but I don't have enough reach vertically to adjust this up enough, depending on the thickness of the wood that you're going to use for the top. I don't want to use anything too heavy, otherwise this, you know, is going to be too much, or I'm going to start stressing out the mounts in there. So I decided to go for something bigger. So from Mark 1 to Mark 2 to Mark 3. And the other thing I did on this, I don't know whether this is any good. I have offset these holes to screw into the bottom of the piece of wood. But now using a star knob like that is, you know, it provides lots of adjustment opportunities there. But that wasn't all, because I decided this block, obviously with this, I'd need to make 2 of them. And then I thought, well, instead of making 2 of them, why not make 1? So I went back to Fusion 360 and I made this. And this, obviously, the holes do line up with the slots, so that was good. And there is space on the back to set in an M6 nut. Not very well centered. That was a problem. Hopefully I've addressed that now. And these weren't lined up very well. They still lined up this way, but not once the nut was on them. So that was an issue to overcome. But it does go in. Oh, and the other thing I had to do for this is I did increase, it's kind of hard to see, but I have increased the height just a little bit to try and take some of that slop out of it. And it's, I'm hoping, it's looking like it's printing the right one. I'm hoping that this is, I think, the 4th version of this part. I think this is going to be okay now. It's probably going to need to be quite low down. But I suppose if somebody did decide they wanted to make it out of, I don't know, 1/4-inch steel or something, you could effectively have a very small thickness on there. And you can adjust right up if it's really, really thin, and obviously right down if it's quite thick, if you've got, I don't know, 35mm chipboard, you know, benchtop or something. I don't know whether that would be wise to do, but that's where I'm at. So the hope is that, you know, I'll be able to either provide the files to people that have got this saw, because quite a few people do have this sort of hobby job site saw, or if I can't provide the files to them, if I can get a successful set of things that I could, you know, maybe sell a kit. You know, maybe somebody would say, look, that sounds like a reasonable thing. I've got a piece of 19mm pine that I'll use as a router table. Can you sell me a kit for $10 or something, or $15? I don't know. So yeah, feedback much appreciated, but that's where the design work's been happening. But I'm no designer in Fusion 360, and tonight I had an issue where I was trying to line up the slot with the hole and trying to edit sketches and go back to things, and then I had a sketch and I tried to fix it, and all I can say is in Fusion or anything at the moment, when I'm trying to fix something, don't try and fix it, undo and then redo is my go-to strategy. So that's the workings that we're up to. So I think we're on about, yeah, this is the third generation, I think. Yeah, third gen of these. And I'm pretty happy with progress there. I think that's probably the right kind of thing. These are printed in PETG with 50% infill. I think that'll be more than strong enough because it's clamping force that's going to hold this in. You know, it's really just clamping strength. The little knobs, star knobs, I think are probably going to be all right like that. But we'll go back and see. If not, a bolt. I'd even thought of maybe a wing bolt, but you know, M6 wing bolts, if I were providing them, suddenly becomes a bit of an issue. But I think if I provided the 3D printed parts, somebody could provide their own, you know, nuts and bolts and stuff, provided they're spec'd out to take M6. That was the first generation of the router base plate. So, I mean, even that still works fine. It's just that the cutouts, little relief cuts for the screws just weren't deep enough. But obviously, I've also made this a little bit too narrow. Design, and then I'm trying to do Z bends for throttle cables for lawnmowers, and so I printed this to do Z bends. But there's one problem that I don't know how it works. So there's obviously some kind of screw that goes through this, and this is meant to be screwed down to a bench, and then there's obviously some movement needs to happen. So there's a screw that comes up here, and then there's meant to be two bolts sticking through here. I'm wondering whether you sort of put it through one and then you bend it, and then you put it through the other, and then you bend it that way. I don't know. Never done it. We'll see how it goes. But that's right. This is my attempt at a mini star knob, but this one broke off, unfortunately. But the idea was that it does just grab enough. No, it's not. It doesn't want to. There. It just holds on enough, and it gives you a bit of purchase to tighten it up. And of course, with the spot of super glue, it wouldn't come off. But yeah, it's a bit fragile. All right, I'll get the other things. I'm saying lots of and it was lovely to see the thwacker in a video this week, and I've just been reminded by Aussie Matt about the thwacker this week. I was very flattered. I've been thinking of making a sort of very wanky Apple style product video about the thwacker, just for a bit of fun, to not take oneself too seriously. I'm just going to go get my new stuff, because there is new stuff. So let me just move the camera up away from the doodlings of death. It hath been a busy old day because long weekend, and it's yeah, busy times. We've been doing lawnmowers, more lawnmowers. So we now have Barry Mark II. Barry Mark II got a rust treatment and a new coat of paint today. And hopefully that's not the end of Barry Mark II. Hopefully there's more work to do, but it does need a carburetor. And that's almost like wiring for me. It's magic. Magic's involved. New stuff. Here we go. Da-da. Came in a yellow box. This is my emotional support tools. This, I'll say a lot of... I'll just open it, shall I? Just open the bloody thing. There we go. It was the display one, so it's not very well packaged. There's a base. So it's a cordless router. It comes with lots of things. This is all the dust extraction stuff to go with the fixed base. It comes with a fixed and a plunge base. It comes with an aluminium or an aluminum fence. Pressed steel fence as well. So that's nice. It comes with two collets. It's got a 1/4 inch and an 8mm. I dare say I will be using the 1/4 inch, but I think that is the 8mm that is currently in it. So that will be something to change. It's got that's all the clamping hardware and the guide bushing for doing more cool stuff, pattern bits and stuff. Didn't come with any router bits, which is sad. Normally when you buy a router, they at least give you sort of a rubbish straight bit with it, but this one did not. It might even be a bushing, like a reducer. Some nice steel rods for the fence, and my receipt, which you don't need to see. So here it is in its glory. Why did I buy this one? I know the Makita truck was at the shop this week. I probably could have saved a hell of a lot of money by buying a Makita, because that would be much, much cheaper. I love the height adjustment on this, because it's basically you attach this ring to either base and then you can adjust the height just by screwing it on, which is just a really good idea. That's why. So a bit more finite than doing this. This has also got this is a ring that attaches to here, and then there's also a fine depth adjustment ring as well, so you can spin this down on here. So there's kind of a coarse and a fine adjustment. I'm very, very enamored with this. What I don't understand though is these, looking at the book, these little nodules, it says they're meant to line up with the groove. Now I am presuming they are meant to line up with either this groove or this groove, but in the book it shows them lining up with these grooves, which is a little bit weird. But so what you're meant to do is put this locking ring on, if you can get it to twist on, that'll be good. I think it goes on. Is it on that way? No, it can't go on that way. It has to go on this way. There's probably... Oh, there. There you go. There is a trick to it. There's actually a spot where it starts. Okay. So you put this on here. And then you're meant to line these up with... Now, I would guess it's with this groove on the side, because then the lock button is visible there. So I'm going to presume that. And there's also a sort of pin on that side. And then it sort of slides down. And then you can lock this down. And then you can undo this, and you should be able to spin this either way to adjust it. But yeah, so the reason I bought this, big yellow batteries, because I have lots of them, and I would never put this in a router table because it's battery powered, but the fact that this is quite cumbersome, it has a very long cord thing on it, and the fact that it is cheaper to replace than this. If this thing dies in a router table, well, I'll just buy another one, because this is $119, and this is, well, not $119, but because it is cordless and it can do both jobs that the Azedo should have been able to do, kind of made sense. And yes, I could have bought a Makita version of this that came with the same things, and it would have been cheaper, but I don't have any Makita batteries, and I don't have any Makita chargers. And then when I'm using it and the battery dies, I have to wait for the one battery that I would have had to have charged again. And whereas this, I've got loads. I've got a wall full of them, and if something happens to one, I just swap it over. Or as the Americans say, I swap it out. So that's the plan. That's what I'm learning to do. But I needed to go through this and actually check that I have all the things that I'm supposed to have. And English is the second language in the book, which is nice. It's nice to be included. But the only issue I have with the English is that there's no English list of items that you're meant to have, which is, so we've got to, oh, hang on, no. I'm sorry, Dual, I take it back. I've just found the thing. So we're meant to have router with fixed base, router with fixed base with dust collection. I'd say that's the dust collection port there. Right. A basic parallel fence, which I'd say would be this one. A round sub base. Yes, round sub base there. Router with fixed, that's it, fixed and plunge base, round sub base, plunge base, dust collection, that's that there. Fixed base, dust collection. Basic parallel fence, plunge base parallel fence, which basically attaches to there through some clever knobs. Well done. Lovely. A wrench, yes. There would be a wrench in there. A centering tool, yes. And it just says, yeah, okay. So then let's adjusting the height on the fixed base. Let's see. I'm just going to read through the book on here because, well, that's the whole point. Choosing router speed, cutting with fixed base, direction speed, proper hand position. Don't put your hands where you wouldn't put your willy. Waxing motor and base. Sorry, Mrs. Noble, your son's been caught waxing his base in the back of the library. Cutting with the plunge base, attaching dust extraction, setting up the plunge base. Remove the depth adjustment ring from the motor. The plunge base. Set up fixed base. Open the locking lever. Doink. If the depth adjustment ring is not on the motor, thread the depth adjustment ring on the motor until the ring is about halfway between the top and bottom of the motor as shown, except there's no picture. It is not halfway, so let's spin-a-rooney it down. Is that about half? Happy with that? Looks about half to me. Okay. With the guide pins, between the top and the bottom. Insert the motor into the base by aligning the groove on the motor, number 6, with guide pin 17 on the base. Slide the motor down until the depth adjustment ring snaps into place. Now, if I go back to this picture, 6 and 17. 6 and 17. Where are 6 and 17? Right, 17, it's pointing to the 2 pins there, just at the bottom of there. That's 17. But 6, well, 6 is pointing to a horizontal groove. 6 is, there's 6 there, and it's pointing to that groove. So do I align the pins with that groove? It just seems very strange to do so. 9 looks more like it's... So I don't know. And there's no list. It'd be lovely if there was a list to go with it. So 6 and 17. Now what did it say? Until it snaps into place. Let's try it. I should read the rest of the instructions first. Is not on the motor. 6. Oh. Insert the motor into base by aligning the groove on motor 6 Oh, it's the motor is number 6. That makes more sense. With the guide pin 17 on the base, slide the motor down until the depth adjustment ring snaps into place. Guide pin grooves 9 are located either side of the motor so it can be positioned in 2 orientations. Okay, well, that's what I just said. The depth of cut can adjust the depth of cut by turning the depth adjustment ring, refer to adjusting depth of cut. Close the locking lever. All right, so that locking lever needs to be open, I'm guessing, because then it moves that out of the way, and this can slide down. So that lines up with there. That slides on. That snaps in. Snap, and then, oh, hang on. That didn't snap into place, did it? Did it? No. Take it back. Try again. Oh no, it did. It did. It snaps into there. Oh look, and there we go. It adjusts up. Ooh, look at me adjusting my router. Ooh, fancy. Adjust your router some more. Okay, baby, I will. Let me just open my locking ring. I'll just gently slide my router down. You're adjusting it so smoothly. This stream will probably be banned, as the viewership really dips. Either that or Language Learning for Beginners is on her way out to hit me with something very heavy. There you go. I haven't fired it up. Should I put a battery on it? Should I? Yes, you fucking should. All right, I'll get a battery. I've got an American one with 20 volts on it. 20 volts max. And 1 bar. But that's okay. It's probably got... Oh, there you go. That might be the on and off. Shall we try it? Ooh. It's got like an electric brake. It's really good. I'm happy with that. I mean, yes, it's heavy, but I'm not going to... Yeah, this is really for, in situ routing of stuff. And then when you want to do straight grooves and stuff, setting up the track saw fence and then running this along, there is also an adapter, a 3D printable adapter, that I can adapt these slots to a thing that sits in the track saw fence, which means I can run it along and I will get good, consistent straight lines if I were doing lots of grooves and whatnot. But again, it works in the same principle. Undo the locking nut, twist the thing. There's also a micro adjust on here. So down here, this is a micro adjust. So you can undo that and you can fine tune your height, which is great. Very happy with that. And it works. So I'm happy with that also. Cool. Let me get my list. I'll get my list of channels that I have been watching. I haven't really been watching a lot this week because it's been hectically busy. And obviously getting the extra mower, Barry Mark II. And Matt, we might have to ask you about getting some stickers made for Barry and Barry Mark II. If I can do some... Oh, look, there's my stream. 3 people are watching, including me. I don't know what I want. Sort of. Do I want that? Subscriptions. So... John Malecki. I have been watching a lot of John Malecki. I think he's all right. He's not necessarily the You know, he's kind of more the stereotypical USA YouTuber with the $100,000 workshop. So I have to try and temper my expectations there. But I have been watching quite a lot of John Malecki this week. Words and Wood has been very good this week. Wouldn't It Be Grand? I don't know whether I mentioned Wouldn't It Be Grand last week. That one has been very good, actually. Oh, I think version 5 has just finished. So, Saw It was the other one. Now, I've already mentioned Riverside quite a few times, so I will. I think I did talk about Making Sawdust. So that's really whom I've been watching. Some more subscribers to the channel this week, which has been very, very good. Always happy to get more people watching. Very happy that slowly edging towards 250 subscribers. It'll be really interesting to see how far, mainly with the shorts, that I can grow the channel by the end of the week. Oh, it's toasty. So this is looking better. Those holes are looking more central. I don't know. I don't think I have a 6mm nut in here that I can try this with, but it's looking like that will line up quite nicely, which will be good. And I'd love to be able to take you out to see the saw, but I think I'm gonna. Yeah, that's much better. Much, much better. If I put 2 star knobs through, I should be able to sort of sprue them in place and just see, do they work? With a bit of gentle persuasion, I have to screw this bolt through. But yes, it looks like they are working, which is excellent. And so then the next test will be if that assembly will fit. But hopefully it won't have too much sort of racking side to side when it's tightened up. I think I will need smaller bolts. I think it's an M6 by 25, so I'll try and get some M6 by 20s. But the other hardware shop, you know, will often try and sell you 1/4 inch because they're the same thing. They're not. I'm very happy with this. This is actually my birthday present to myself. Well, it's my birthday present for my family, who have offered to bankroll this for me, and we got it at a price cheaper than we could get it online, which is amazing. The other hardware shop has finally come through and achieved something that I never thought they could achieve. So I'm happy with that. That way I can then get my piece of wood, mount this in, and basically that's just going to be, you know, I've cut a thing, I want to round it over, I want to chamfer all the things and just run it through. Pine usually. I've got a hole that I want to ease over with a round over, and then changing the bit where you just undo this, take it out and change it and screw it back in, and it should hopefully, I'm just hoping this will be enough to keep it in place, but I don't know. We will find out, won't we? So that's about it. I know it's a very short stream with lots of ers and ums. Very happy that this is working. And now what I should be able to do is hold those, and that should just slide off. And then I should be able to do the same thing on the plunge base, is line up the little tabs like this. Locking base has to be undone. Line up the tabs, which are right down there. So offset like that. Go down until this clicks on. And there it is. Nice job. Happy days. Love it. So, from me, thanks everyone for watching. And if you're watching this after please check out the shorts feed because that's where most of the action is currently happening. I do have another palette video that I'm doing because the last one was well received from the humor standpoint, but from the woodworking standpoint, not so much. So I've got something that's a bit more serious. I know me being serious is quite a misnomer, but there is something a bit more serious on the go, and I hope to have it up by next weekend, which would be nice, but you never know. Life gets in the way sometimes. Life has certainly been busy. I'm going to resist the urge to print another one of those. I'm going to go and try it in the saw, and then I might come back and print another one of those. But hey, in the meantime, just make sure you keep your bananas where you can see them. Bye.